camera's currently wrapped around my ring light with a rope, so let's hope it doesn't fall. Hey there, so this is the weekly forecast for the week of December 30th, 2018 to January 5th, 2019. So starting out on Sunday, the moon will be in late Libra in a T-square opposite Uranus in Aries and squaring Pluto in Capricorn. Oh my god, my dishwasher. Can I film right now? Okay, we're back. Dishwasher is off, kind of. So on the 1st, the moon will be in Libra opposite Uranus in Aries and squaring Pluto in Capricorn. And the moon in Libra really wants balance and to avoid conflict and keep things equal and really balanced and fair. And with this alignment, we could be experiencing particularly surprising and intense triggers for us personally, like things that really irk us and make it difficult to keep that balance both with our actions and our emotional responses that we're getting as a result of others' actions. There is a lesson here in the sense that if you really pay attention to what's throwing you off and what's hitting you really hard, there is a chance to look at something that could potentially be a reoccurring old wound that keeps popping up for you and get to the bottom of it. It can help you move past similar experiences in the future so that they don't hit you in quite as a surprising, intense manner in that sense. So Monday may be a day where you get your feelings hurt, but there's a way to greater understand what that's showing you that's unresolved in yourself so that you can work through it for similar situations in the future. Mars will also be conjunct Chiron in Pisces, and there's something that keeps kind of like scratching at parts that are already wounded inside of us that we're insecure or we're hiding, or just vulnerabilities we're not comfortable expressing yet. So these wounds are being reopened, and if you pay attention again to what's coming up for you, there's a chance to release that and let it go instead of burying it. Because with Mars in the sign of Pisces, there is more availability to get to the bottom of the subconscious mind in a sense, because the planet of aggression and action is in a really nebulous, difficult to pin down sign. And so these more emotional, not as linear parts of ourselves that might not make as much sense, we can get to the bottom of in a more emotional understanding rather than logical way if we just let those things come up instead of suppressing them. Then on Monday the 31st, New Year's Eve, Mars immediately moves into Aries. And with this ingress, Mars will be at home because Mars rules Aries, and so there's a feeling of our energy having a really good, strong channel. It's not being diluted or subverted or being forced out in a way that's overpowering for us. There is a way that our drive is coming more naturally, and we trust our actions more because there is some strong momentum behind them, some strong support. So that's a really encouraging transit in terms of New Year's resolutions, because we could feel really motivated and really confident to put forth responsible energy to bettering ourselves in whatever way we want to in the new year. Monday, the moon will also be in Scorpio trine to Neptune, and Neptune aspects always thin the veil because Neptune tends to blur lines and cross boundaries. So Neptune aspects like this to the moon can bring access to creative energy or intuitive insights that normally we wouldn't really get to the bottom of. And this is a trine, so both Neptune and the moon are in water signs, and there's an ability to flow and mesh their energies together. There is both an ability to drive forth our will and to receive insight on Monday, and it's a really good day for thinking about the year ahead because there's both reception and assertion going on there. Tuesday, on the 1st of 2019, the Sun will conjunct Saturn in Capricorn, and this is a really sobering, serious energy. It's not necessarily depressing or negative. It's just really sobering and really realistic. So whereas New Year's Eve had a lot of lightness and maybe ease to it, New Year's Day is kind of like really asking you to get your shit together. And any plans that you set forth on New Year's Day for New Year's resolutions or whatever kind of goal setting, if you're doing that, they might have more obstacles than usual, or they might feel more taxing. But if you go little by little and make those steps reachable and realistic for you at this time for things that you can actually achieve, you're more likely to get your hard work's worth and to get rewarded in a way that is tangible and long-lasting, instead of some kind of fleeting reward that is not worthwhile or that doesn't make a difference in your life. So this energy. I keep saying sobering, but that's what I think of with Sun Saturn. It's just kind of like the energy inside of us is really being asked to like get with it. And because it's in the same side as the south node of the moon, it also makes me think of what can you let go of that is holding you back, what kinds of work are no longer serving you, what kinds of work aren't working for you. Like, how do you need to change the way you're working and organizing your life? Because working for no reason, it might not work, if that makes sense. Like, working smarter may not be working harder, and that might be a differentiation that we make as the south node dissolves some of the Capricorn energy that we've learned. Maybe ways that we've been getting things done need to be reevaluated and made a bit simpler or made a bit more comfortable so that we can get things done in a smarter, not necessarily harder way. The moon on Tuesday will be conjunct Venus and trine Chiron, which does soften the energy a bit. The Saturn-Sun conjunction may make our egos really feel the hit and really be grounded, but the moon with Venus trining Chiron does ease it up a bit. It reassures us that things really are going to be moving and not necessarily stagnant and depressing and all on our shoulders right now. And because this is the moon conjunct Venus, the moon being in the sign of its fall and Venus being in the sign of its detriment, we may find that emotional reassurance or comfort and things that aren't traditionally comfortable or safe. And this could be a turning point in terms of, with that Saturn-Sun conjunction, asking you to reevaluate what's working for you. Maybe you need to put yourself in new, different situations that feel uncomfortable, but then you find comfort in knowing that those are helping you grow and progress forward. So it's just a day of getting realistic and comfortable with the fact that things might not all be figured out or quite okay yet, but there's always steps to take to move through that. Wednesday the 2nd takes a bit of a lighter, more optimistic turn when the moon in Sagittarius trines Mars in Aries. So there's a bit of fire to help move the more passive energies of earth and water that were there Tuesday, and there's just lighter mood and more optimism on Wednesday to help us push through what could seem overwhelming or can seem dreary from the previous day. So Wednesday is a lighter, more driven day for us. Thursday, the moon will conjunct Jupiter and square Neptune. So we may be very excited following Wednesday's energy. We may be really excited about putting our plans into motion and getting energy behind these goals. But there is the risk of getting really excited but not in a grounded way. We're being carried by delusion that the way in which we're going after things is the best way for our evolution or is healthy for us. Or in reality, we may need to take a step back, use that excitement and energy in a more long-lasting, less immediately gratifying way, and just take a step back and just look at things for what they are. Because Jupiter and Neptune can be really great at removing boundaries, and they can also expand upon ways that aren't working for us already, that we may be in denial that we think are working for us. Make sure that the way things feel for you isn't clouding the way that things really are for you. Then there's also a grand water trine between Venus, Chiron, and the South Node. And the veil is again thinner this week. There is more access to intuition or realizations from within that we might not have as much ease to usually. With the South Node in this water trine, it may be easier to dissolve old patterns of being that really aren't for our best good and to let them go once and for all, to release that attachment. The 3rd, Mercury will also be square Chiron and trine Uranus, which is showing that we may be scared to speak about our vulnerabilities, like all that is coming to the surface and all that's bubbling up for us, these internal realizations. We may feel really scared to speak about them or to bring them up for fear of judgment or for fear of getting really intense reactions from people, but by just going ahead and doing so and following your gut and sharing your story, it may have the outcome of freedom or liberation and those type of feelings for you eventually once it's out there, and it might bring that forth for whoever is hearing you speak on these things, and it might demand that others also be open about their vulnerability themselves. So while we may feel scared to speak up about lessons we've learned, it's a really good opportunity to get it off of your chest because the energy is so potent and so available to be shared. Friday, the moon in Capricorn will square Mars in Aries, and this is an aspect of frustrating, bubbling emotional tension There might be the risk of wanting to be passive aggressive with others and not take direct action because there's just this fear of both acting and a fear of getting a reaction from that action. The moon wants to stay safe and wants to be really guarded in Capricorn, but Mars in Aries is demanding impulsive, courageous action. So there's this tension going on there, and it's neither helpful to act impulsively or act passive aggressively because you don't want the reaction, but you still want to get that outlet. If you decide to hold that aggression in or to like barely drop it out by being really passive and manipulative, there's more likely to be an explosion down the line when it can't be held in anymore. Express what you're feeling, but just make sure that the words you're using are softer than usual or are more considerate, because there's a likelihood of looking back in the next few days and realizing that the situation was not as charged as it seemed. So be wary about holding things in, which then lead to just more issues overall. On Saturday, Mercury also moves into Capricorn to join all the other planets there. There's a lot of Capricorn energy going on now, and will be for the next 2 years, honestly. But that Mercury in Capricorn will immediately square Mars in Aries, which just brings more risk of mincing words, I think that's the saying, or like holding your tongue when you should speak up, which then leads to lashing out when you're trying to get out what you wanted to say and it's now just rude and over the top. So be wary of both being blunt and impulsive with your words and being passive aggressive again, and having a harder impact by being indirect and subtle than you would if you were just calm and collected and honest. Brutal honesty can be really powerful and really changing for someone, but doing so with a sharp tongue to intentionally invoke a reaction because we're hurt ourselves doesn't get our point across in a way that's ultimately fulfilling. So self-expression could be really strong, but what could also be strong is hurtful words, and just be wary of that. The highlight of this week is definitely the new moon solar eclipse happening in Capricorn on the 5th. And the moon will be conjunct Saturn and the sun and all the planets in Capricorn. Moon, Saturn, Sun, Pluto particularly will be together. And then Mercury also. But there's just a lot of energy and a lot of new beginnings being highlighted in this sign of grounded foundational energy. It's setting into motion something that's particularly serious and intense. So this new moon, even though new moons are times of going within and cultivating steps you want to come to fruition, this is not a warm and cozy and like lighting the sage and taking a bath to set goals for self-care type of new moon. It's more of a new moon with a lot of grounded, honest momentum behind it, and we can use that to run with it and really power some realistic manifestation-oriented goals. But you can also let this energy run you over and kind of like squash dreams and get in a pissy mood and like not want to do anything because you just feel like your hopes and dreams are being crushed. This isn't, like a Cancer new moon being comforted and feeling warm and at home. It's a time of being serious and getting real with what it is you want to bring forward in whatever area of life Capricorn is for you in your sky, whatever house it rules. For the next 6 months, those goals will be coming to fruition and appearing in your life. Again, it's sobering. This is what this whole week basically is. It's both sobering and motivating, and there's a lot of energy that can either scare or drive us, and it's kind of up to us to accept the power we have to take that high road, even if that's harder in the moment, because long term we will be rewarded for these things in the months and years to come. The camera just had to stop recording right as I was trying to be inspirational and motivational, but it's fine, we're back. Anyway, the hard work that you put in and the pushing through any of those thoughts of not being able to get over things or not being able to put into place goals and dreams that you have will serve you, even if it means just taking little small steps. Even if it just means planning on like tiny progress you can make in this beginning of the year. Just getting that spark and getting the ball rolling will lead to greater momentum if you take that, just plant that seed instead of turning it off because you feel discouraged and too serious and overwhelmed. So I hope this was helpful. I do private consultations at the link below. Otherwise, like and subscribe and find me on all the places. And I will see you next time.